call it the second spring for a reason in Chinese medicine.
The second spring. Oh, explain that. That's interesting.
So it's menopause is given a nickname in Chinese culture as a second spring, which is a rebirth, really.
Right.
Liberation.
Yep.
So we don't have to worry about family as much, kids growing up. Our focus is away from reproduction and more towards cultivating ourselves, getting to know ourselves and our own center and our spirituality, what makes us happy, what connects us to whatever your highest guidance is.
Right. And that's not just reflective of Chinese medicine. That sounds like it's quite a cultural thing across Chinese and Chinese people.
Definitely. It's not just a Chinese medicine thing.
Yeah.
Welcome to Pure Alchemy, your go-to podcast for the latest in wellness and holistic healing. My name is Anissa, founder of Pure Alchemy. My passion for natural health led me on a journey to explore the abundant resources nature provides, from ancient healing practices to modern therapies. Here at Pure Alchemy, we dive deep into the world of wellness, mind, body, and spirit. Whether you're curious about acupuncture, energy healing, or natural remedies, this podcast is here to guide, inspire, and empower you on your path to well-being. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's embark on this journey together.
Menopause. It's a great topic. It's a topic that I feel is mixed out there, where a lot of people accept it and a lot of people will fight it tooth and nail. So I thought, you and I in the back have always had quite interesting conversations about menopause, especially when it comes to Chinese medicine and Chinese culture, where Chinese women embrace menopause, but the Western woman fights it, which is very contradictory, both culturally and just in the world today. But before we sort of get into the nitty-gritty, can you talk us through what actually is menopause and what are the stages, to identify when it's starting?
Okay, so menopause is defined by 1 full year of no menstrual cycle. So if you haven't had a period in 1 year, you're considered to have gone through menopause. Before you go through menopause, there is a stage called perimenopause, which can actually last several years, up to 10 years. So if your age of menopause is 51 or 52, perimenopause can start as early as 41.
Right. And what's perimenopause? What is that?
So perimenopause is the symptoms that you might actually start to exhibit as you're going into menopause. So some symptoms might include hormone imbalances, sleeplessness, irritability, hot flushes. So you can actually start to get hot flushes, irregular menstrual symptoms, all in the lead up to menopause.
Wow. And how long can perimenopause often go for?
Well, it can last for 10 years, but it doesn't last that long. Some people might be a few years. Some people might actually have no symptoms.
Really?
And that's a really important thing to understand is menopause is not this terrible thing that we must all go through as a woman. Everyone exhibits different types of symptoms or no symptoms at all.
Wow. Okay. So that's really interesting. So you mentioned a key thing there. It might not be a terrible thing. So talk about the differences in that, because it's very conflicting, like I said, where some cultures accept it and others say, I don't want anything to do with it.
I just wanted to briefly touch on the Chinese medicine approach because that gives you some idea of the differences in how we menopause. So menopause was never considered a pathology in Chinese medicine. It was considered some sort of imbalances. It's considered to be a normal part of life and healthy, actually. Right. Yeah. So we see the symptoms of menopause as just imbalances, and thus we try to treat the imbalances rather than the menopause itself.
Right. Okay. That's very different.
Nowadays, I think we tend to catastrophize what menopause is and believe that it's a terrible thing. I actually think it can be a blessing I mean, how nice is it not to have to think about bringing tampons and painkillers and, you know, getting caught at menstrual cramps and all that kind of stuff, at unexpected fertility, things like that.
Yeah, no, you've sort of raised an important topic there. I guess, and we do that a lot in Western culture. We look at the negative rather than the positive first, and you've already mentioned a few key positive things that have happened. So tell me, before we do get into more detail about Chinese medicine and menopause, how long does menopause often last for a woman once it does kick off?
The average age of menopause in the Western world is about 51 years. And it can, I mean, once you're in menopause, you're in menopause. What I'm saying is, I think you're actually talking about the symptoms, and everyone's different. Yeah.
Okay, right. So some people may, like you said, some people may get them, some might not. And if you do get them, it might not even last.
Some people might several years, and some people might just experience, you know, a couple of hot flushes and a few nights. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah.
It's all about balance. Chinese medicine is always about balance. When we experience some sort of pain or symptoms, it's usually because part of us is out of balance.
Right.
As we naturally age as a woman, certain organs might be prone to become weaker.
Right.
And the organs which tend to become weaker are the kidneys, the spleen, the heart, and the liver.
Yeah.
When they, nothing is static. So the things that we did in our 20s might not work when we're in our 40s.
Yeah.
So we have to change how we approach life and how we approach health. Right.
So really approaching menopause is both, it's almost both a, I don't know if spiritual is the right word, but it's quite a mental approach as well as a health approach.
It's about adapting to change.
Yeah. So your mindset around the idea of it.
Flexibility around it.
Yeah.
Things that we thought was healthy, we might be challenged.
Sure.
For instance, if you're doing a lot of cardio and it's been great for you in your 20s and 30s, might not work for you in your 30s and 40s and 50s.
Right.
Things like that. So it's adapting to how your body's changing. And if you've been abusing your body all throughout your life, you're likely to see the results of those abuses in your 40s and 50s.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So what you do when you're young affects your adulthood.
You've been smoking all your life, drinking heavy, burning the midnight oil, you might actually experience more symptoms.
Right, okay. So health and lifestyle play an important part then on how that menopause is going to be. Right.
Absolutely. I always say that we are given menopause is not optional.
Yeah, it just happens.
Menopause is not necessarily predestined.
Right.
Or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, no, look, what you say makes sense. And it's been really interesting being around you for the last few years or so, because even my mindset around menopause has changed, where previous to me meeting you, I was terrified of it, right? My mother had terrible symptoms. A lot of that was triggered by her having chemotherapy, though, which is quite common for that to onset it quite early and to trigger some crazy sort of symptoms. And I've known some other women that have had some really bad symptoms, but then I've also known a lot of women around me that didn't even know they had it. They had no symptoms at all. And so, since knowing you and the chats we've had, my mindset has certainly changed around it. And I've tried to sort of realize, it is what it is, right? You can't, like you said, you can't control it. It's nature.
Actually, a liberating aspect of our life.
Are there more therapeutic ways to sort of deal with the symptoms using a lot of Chinese medicine practices?
Absolutely. I would say that quite a majority of my clients are women experiencing perimenopause or menopause symptoms.
Right.
Chinese medicine has an extensive history of treating gynecology and obstetrics as well.
Wow.
But definitely these things were studied quite comprehensively in the history of Chinese medicine.
Right, okay.
With herbs and acupuncture, a lot can be assisted.
Okay. So you've raised some really interesting things about the whole concept of lifestyle when it comes to menopause. So talk me a bit about that, what sort of lifestyle changes you might need to do, because obviously we can't go back in time and change our 20s. So what can we do going forward?
Well, menopause is often associated with three things, and that is increasing insulin resistance, increasing leptin resistance, and high cortisol.
Right.
So we need to address all of these three issues. One of the best things you can do is change your diet and improve your sleep.
Okay.
Insulin resistance, you can actually change your diet and make yourself quite a bit more receptive to insulin.
Okay.
And also, one of the best things to assist with treating chronic stress is good sleep.
Right.
So let's talk about those two things.
Okay.
Insulin resistance. So one of the things that we often see as we get older is an increasing waistline.
Right.
The midlife bulge.
Yep.
All the women that were lean as anything all of a sudden explode out in the midsection in their 40s.
The struggle. Yep.
So in Chinese medicine, we say that is the liver qi stagnation.
Right.
Any kind of accumulation is a liver qi stagnation, but it's also a digestive function is not as strong.
Right.
In Chinese medicine, we say that you can increase your capacity to improve your liver function by your food and medicine and acupuncture as well. But let's just talk about food. So the liver likes a clean diet.
Okay.
It likes greens and it likes bitter, because those kind of foods assist with calming the liver down.
Right.
And the liver.
Okay.
If you're going through menopause or perimenopause, it's actually a really good idea to detox your liver.
Okay.
Not in the pure Western sense of just, for instance, there's detoxing the liver, but there's also nourishing the liver. And there's also about not overburdening your liver again once you've done that.
Right.
One of the things, apart from increasing your greens, you can do is reducing your fats, because it actually requires a lot of digestive power, and it requires the liver and the bile to produce a lot of effort to digest food and fat specifically.
Right.
The less fat that you have in your diet and the more greens that you have in the diet, the better it is for your liver.
Okay. So what you're telling me, and we probably don't really think about it because we visually see ourselves aging, but we don't really think about our organs are also aging, right? So as they're aging, we need to also nurture them on the inside. That's kind of what I'm hearing from you, is that?
Absolutely. Like I said, liver can tend to get slugged up through years of abuse and diet. The other thing is our digestive system also tends to not become as powerful or strong.
Right.
So we need to look at changing our diet, like, once again, not having foods that are too heavy or quite not overeating is a really good thing to do. And
like fasting?
Fasting to a certain degree.
Sure.
Because fasting for too long can actually stress the digestive system as well.
Right. Yeah.
So we're talking about, the Hindus might call it the digestive fire.
Okay,
so
yes.
The Chinese medicine also has a similar concept where we need to encourage the digestive fire.
Yeah, okay. So you've got to keep the fire going, but you've also got to nurture it, and think about what you can and cannot do when you hit your 40s and 50s, right? What you can eat, what's not working for you.
Absolutely. So if you're not digesting, it becomes a toxin and it becomes accumulation.
Yeah.
Why so many women are putting on the bulge as they get older. These things that we could get away with in our youth can no longer be, tolerated by the body.
Yeah, okay. So apart from sort of increasing green vegetables into the diet, what other things should you consider to help? Because I know, like you said, there's a lot of both stigma and terrible liver detox diets out there that are fads that you probably shouldn't follow. What's a natural, easy sort of liver detox that you would want to work with that you could easily introduce into your lifestyle?
If you're doing a detox, I would always recommend a low-fat, plant-based diet.
Okay.
It's quite easy.
Yep.
Free from processed foods,
yep,
sugars,
yep,
and too much salt.
Yeah.
It's quite easy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing something quite harsh and quite hard, you know, there's people that do fruit diets. That is the most cleansing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That can also be a bit stressful if you're in a fast-paced lifestyle and
definitely.
Yeah.
You know, the type of detox that you might want to do really depends on so many things.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, fasting can cause stress on your organs as well.
Yeah.
But not fasting and overeating can cause stress on your organs as well.
Yeah, so it's finding a balance, which you mentioned at the beginning.
You know, there's with everything is about finding that balance that is right for you.
Yep. And do you think it's different for everybody? Because everyone, you know, I know there's a lot of people talk about how they all have different digestives. Their system works different or it processes food differently. You know, do you sort of think that that's plausible, that everyone digests differently depending on their system?
Absolutely. There's no person that's completely identical to another person.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of Chinese medicine, is that we treat each person as an individual. But not only do we treat each person as an individual, we see each person as an individual in a state of flux.
Yeah. So really as a woman, it's about identifying whether you're perimenopause or heading into menopause. It's about really working with both yourself to identify what's like diet-wise, what's really working for you, what lifestyle choices are no longer working for you, to find that balance. And then, you know, without giving a plug to you as an acupuncturist, it really sounds like you also need the Chinese medicine component to sort of help you adjust, also to help the body adjust.
It's about really getting to understand yourself and understanding the cycles that you're going through.
Yeah.
There's smaller cycles and larger cycles that you're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So menopause is one of the bigger cycles.
Yeah,
but
right.
in that, you might have times where your digestive power is much stronger than when it's not.
Oh, right. So it can still be ever changing, even.
Absolutely.
Right.
You might be dairy intolerant one week and then totally fine another.
Really? Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's got a lot to do with your digestive fire.
Right. Okay. So you've touched base on a lot of the diet. So let's go back to the sort of the lifestyle component. So you were talking about sleep and how important that sleep is. I mean, I think sleep is important at any stage of your life, right? You need it.
Absolutely, absolutely. We burn the midnight oil quite a lot in Western culture.
Yeah.
But sleep is one of the most powerful things that we can do to rejuvenate the body, reduce stress and cortisol.
Okay. And how does that help with menopause, especially if someone really is having some terrible symptoms?
What we need to understand is menopause is a condition of inflammation.
Right.
The hot flushes, the irritability,
a
lot of even the fluid gain, and so there's a lot of inflammation and heat in the body.
Right.
What we need to do is to reduce that. And so diet is one way, sleep is another. Sleep is a time when we can really access our body's power to calm the nervous system down, to get into the state of repair and just to feel good. We need sleep to feel good. Right. Having a good sleep routine is really important. Regular hours help.
Yep.
Going outside and getting some sunlight to reset your body's clock is really important. Getting some vitamin D. Because when we rise, I think we have an increase of is it serotonin, and when we go to sleep, there's melatonin. That's correct.
Yeah.
So resetting the body clock is really important.
Right.
There's actually foods in your pantry right now that you could possibly use to assist with helping to increase your melatonin.
Right.
If you've got cherries in your fridge,
Yep.
that is a natural source of helping you to produce more melatonin in your bodies.
Wow.
Cherries are better.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think what else there is. There's, for instance, if you've got lavender tea
Okay.
or lemon balm, I think it is.
Okay. Yeah.
Things that you can do. There's a lot of other herbs.
Yep.
Really in a state where you're chronically suffering, I would suggest that you go to a herbalist.
Okay.
Talking about cherries.
Yeah.
Chinese medicine, cherries is blood building.
Oh, okay. Yep.
We say that the shen needs blood to feel relaxed.
Right.
Or to feel like it's comfortable so that we can fall into a sleep.
Okay.
So cherries build blood.
Yep.
The shen can then have a place to reside. We are more able to relax when our blood is good.
So you've spoken about Shen before in previous videos, but for anyone new to the channel who's watching this video, just talk us through what Shen is.
So Shen is loosely the spirit.
Okay.
So we believe we are the body.
Yep.
We consist of our emotions and also our spirit.
Okay. And that's what you need to help.
And spirit, yeah.
Right. And that's what you need to rejuvenate while you're sleeping, yes?
When you're sleeping, the Shen goes into the heart to be restored. Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And into the blood. Yeah.
Right. Okay. You spoke about how cherries can help you create melatonin, which is really interesting. I've heard that about turkey. Is that true?
Turkey?
Turkey? Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
I've heard people talk about that, but I don't know. Apparently it has a natural relaxant in it as well. And it helps you sort of, when you eat it, you sort of go, I'm ready for bed. So I don't know.
Another herb that you can get from the health food store is valerian, that's for sure.
A big one that I've heard that you should probably start to reduce as you get into perimenopause and menopause is caffeine. Do you have any insights into that? Good or bad? Reducing? Is it okay to have one a day? What are your thoughts? Yeah.
I'll talk about the nature of coffee though. The nature of coffee is heating. The nature of coffee, it drives your liver and your kidney to work harder.
Yeah.
And from our first discussion earlier, we said that the organs involved in menopause are the kidneys, the liver, the spleen, and the heart.
Yeah.
So if your if your kidneys and your liver are already running hot and you're drinking coffee, then perhaps it's not so good.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. It makes sense. So if that's the case, so are there any herbal teas then that are quite heat generating and inflammatory, or are all herbal teas really good in helping in managing things like that, especially if you are menopausal?
I would say that the nature of some herbs are heating.
Right.
Such as cinnamon and cloves and ginger.
Yep.
But in my understanding, not so strong as coffee.
Okay, right. So coffee's more potent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can get it in the grocery store, it's unlikely that the nature is that powerful that it's going to throw you completely into chaos.
Sure.
Okay. So definitely some medications and some herbs in Chinese medicine.
Yep.
That ability to do that.
Right.
But by far it's that's why you go to a licensed herbalist.
Sure.
Yeah,
to get the right recommendations. Yeah.
One thing I will say that you can get is, for instance, if you are taking Korean ginseng,
yes,
that is heating and it can cause certain kind of conditions, and I wouldn't suggest it at all times.
Okay, right.
If you've got a fever, I would not recommend that you take Korean ginseng.
Right. Okay. I didn't know that about ginseng. That's really interesting. What about green tea? Because it does have a caffeine component to it.
Yeah, green tea is cooling.
Right.
According to Chinese medicine.
Because that could be a good caffeine alternative to drinking coffee, right? If you're worried about getting the withdrawals.
Yeah. I always feel hungry after I drink green tea, though.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
Tea also has many antioxidants, which are really good for your body.
Yeah, okay.
Inflammatory. And like I said, menopause is an inflammatory condition.
Right. So yeah, we've touched base on lifestyle changes, we've touched base on diet and other little changes that you need to make, the importance of sleep. What about exercise? You mentioned briefly before that, high intensity workouts may have worked for you, but as you hit menopause or even perimenopause, those high intensity workouts may not work for you. So, I know every individual is different, so I know you can only give your insight, but what sort of exercise do you think is across the board for anyone who is menopausal that would really work in helping them get through?
Yeah, okay, let's revisit that. So high intensity exercises are quite inflammatory.
Right.
Also, it tends to make the body bunch up because it's really stressing the body.
Right.
And when you, for instance, you can see that runners might get pains in their hip or their feet from overuse, and that can be a blockage of energy.
Right.
When we're talking about menopause and releasing you from the symptoms, we want everything to flow.
Yep.
So I do, and I'm not advocating this for everybody, but definitely I do Tai Chi and I do martial arts, and that is about sending the energy to all parts of your body and to balance the masculine and feminine aspect of your body to create some sort of balance.
Right, okay.
To improve the quality of flow.
Yeah.
And also it is a mind training thing, believe it or not.
Yeah.
It is a discipline because it is about training your mind.
Yeah.
One of the biggest energy consumers is our emotions and our minds. Our minds actually burn so much energy, and having a calm mind is definitely something we could all be doing in order to improve the quality of our life. I will mention that as we age, the reduction in estrogen tends to make our bones more likely to be brittle, and osteoporosis tends to set in faster when reached menopause.
Right.
So it's nice to change the type of exercise that we do from being high intensity to being more resistance training.
Yeah.
Thing I do, which I recently started, is calisthenics.
Yes.
That is, I mean, I'm not saying that this is what you need to do.
No, but it's working for you.
Multiple resistance exercises. You can go to the gym.
Yeah.
I'm sure Pilates is resistance, things that you do to kind of stress, to produce muscle, because the other thing is you do lose muscle as you go through menopause. It's called, I can't, the name begins with S. I can't remember the name. So
that's okay, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, very common even in men.
And that is one of the greatest predictor of the quality of life you're going to lead as you age.
Right.
You want to have muscle mass.
Yeah.
As you're going through menopause.
Yeah.
You have strong bones.
Yeah.
One of the ways we can do that is to do resistance training.
I think in Western culture, there's this ideology that when you're stressed, you need to punch it out. And I sometimes I look at that and think I don't think that's good. I think you should learn to monitor that stress and calm it down, not aggravate it, right? So going and doing a high intensity class aggravates it.
So we can look at ourselves like we have a battery of power.
Yeah.
If we're constantly drawing from that battery with things such as uncontrolled emotions, we're constantly stressing our body through excessive exercise.
Yeah.
We work hard, we stay up late, we have stress in our life. We're constantly drawing. We need to do things that actually encourage the energy to go back into the battery.
Right.
Recharge it. I love sleep.
Yep. Yep, that's a big one. Comes up a lot.
One of the things that they say, which is accessible to everybody anywhere in the world right now, is to work on your breath. Because chi is derived from two things.
Yep.
It's derived from, chi is roughly energy.
Yep.
It's derived from the air that we breathe.
Yep.
And the food that we eat and consume.
Right.
Or the air that we breathe.
Right.
So breathing right is really powerful, but not only is it good for your energy, it's also good to be able to access your state of mind.
Yes, it makes sense.
It is a part of us that we can control, that can slow our mind waves down.
Yeah.
It can actually change the acid alkaline components of our body.
Yeah.
It can affect our hormones.
Yeah.
And it can bring us to a deep state of meditation.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But even though we've talked about varying topics within the whole idea of menopause, everything seems to come back down to energy.
Energy and, yes, energy accounting.
Yeah.